Title: The Weight of Secrets. Tom had just moved back to his hometown after a messy 11-year relationship that had ended in ways he still didn't fully understand. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, but reconnecting with old friends seemed like a good place to start. Slightly overweight and what the gay community called a bear, Tom knew he wasn't the typical type, but he'd made peace with it. His body was what it was, there was no changing that. One of the first friends he reached out to was Sam, an old childhood buddy. Sam was married now with kids, but they'd stayed in touch here and there. Sam invited Tom to come over, and Tom agreed, thinking it would be nice to reconnect with someone from his past. When Tom arrived at Sam's house, he was introduced to Sam's son, Joel. Joel had just turned 18 and was already growing into a tall, muscular young man. Tom couldn't help but feel a strange pull toward him. Joel had that youthful energy, that something magnetic that made Tom feel both nostalgic and slightly uncomfortable. He quickly dismissed it. He was here to catch up with Sam, not to think about his son. As the evening wound down, Tom received a message from Joel on Facebook. "Hey, I need to tell you something, but promise you won't tell anyone." Tom hesitated but opened the message. "I'm gay, Tom." Tom blinked at the screen. He wasn't sure what to make of it, but he quickly typed back, trying to keep it light. "You're a little young for me, Joel." It wasn't that Tom wasn't attracted. Joel had that fresh, boyish charm, but it felt wrong. He had known Sam for years, and this was his son. That kind of line just couldn't be crossed. Almost instantly, Joel replied, "I just turned 18 last week. Want to see my ID?" Tom's stomach tightened. This feels wrong, he thought. But there was a nagging curiosity, an attraction to the idea. Still, he had to draw the line somewhere. "I'm not doing this, Joel." But Joel wasn't giving up. He kept texting, sending messages late into the night with that familiar "you up?" Tom tried to ignore them, but they kept coming. It wasn't just the usual flirtation. It was something more desperate, more persistent. Joel wanted Tom, and it was clear he wasn't going to let up. One evening, Joel messaged him with a simple request. "Hey, I need help moving a sofa. You free?" Tom hesitated. He had a small Ford Ranger, but he agreed. It seemed like a harmless favor. When he showed up at Joel's apartment, he didn't expect the tension to hit him so hard. Joel was alone, and his apartment was surprisingly neat, though the air was thick with something Tom couldn't put his finger on. Joel led him to the sofa they were moving, and as they started to lift it, Tom noticed Joel standing too close for comfort. Every time Tom made a move, Joel was right there, brushing up against him, almost on purpose. Tom tried to keep things professional, but the feeling lingered. There was something about the way Joel looked at him, hungry, eager. The moment they took a break, Joel turned toward him with an expression Tom hadn't seen before. Intense, full of desire. "Tom," Joel murmured, his voice lower than usual, "I can't stop thinking about you. I want you. I've wanted you for so long." Tom's heart hammered in his chest. The words hit him like a shockwave, and for a moment he was frozen. This was his best friend's son. He shouldn't even be entertaining this. But the heat in Joel's eyes was undeniable, and Tom could feel his body reacting, betraying him. "Joel, this isn't a good idea," Tom said, his voice thick with uncertainty. Joel stepped closer, his hands resting lightly on Tom's chest. "I'm legal now, Tom. It's not wrong anymore." Tom swallowed hard, a mix of guilt and desire swirling inside him. His mind screamed to pull away, but his body betrayed him again as Joel's lips brushed against his neck. Tom couldn't stop it. His hands found Joel's waist, and he pulled him in, crashing their lips together. It was messy, desperate, but it felt good. Oh, good. They moved quickly to the bed, clothes coming off in a frenzy. The heat between them was overwhelming, and Tom knew he shouldn't be doing this, but he couldn't stop. Joel was a man now, and maybe Tom was tired of being the good guy. He'd been lonely for too long. Joel climbed on top of him, his hands roaming over Tom's body. Tom closed his eyes, trying to ignore the nagging feeling in his gut. This wasn't just about sex, It was something more dangerous. But Joel was persistent, and soon the line between right and wrong became blurry. Later, as they lay together, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that this had been a huge mistake. He had crossed a line he could never uncross. His head spun with confusion, guilt, and shame. The next morning, Tom left early, unable to look Joel in the eye. He drove home, his mind racing, trying to convince himself that what happened wasn't as bad as it felt. But the truth gnawed at him. For the next few weeks, Joel kept reaching out. He would text Tom late at night, always with the same line, "You up?" Tom tried to ignore him, but the temptation was always there. He looked at Joel's Facebook page one day, and saw photos of Joel with his girlfriend, Janet. She was cute, a little overweight, just like Tom. And that's when it hit him, Joel had a type. It wasn't just men. It was anyone with a little more substance. Tom didn't know what to think anymore. He stopped responding to the late-night messages, told himself he was done. But Joel didn't stop. He kept reaching out, lying about breaking up with his girlfriend, trying to get Tom alone again. It was too much. Tom finally decided to cut it off completely. He couldn't keep letting Joel play these games with him. He couldn't keep being part of this twisted little web of lies and sexual tension. It had been 12 years since Tom last responded to Joel, but every so often, he'd get a message late at night. "You up?" And Tom would ignore it every single time. He was done. The weight of secrets was too much to bear.